Hello and welcome to my channel. We have officially hit the middle of the year, so in today's video we're going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. I got into the book community last year around this time, so everyone was kind of doing this video, and I'm just really excited to have my own book channel this year and to be able to partake in this tag. Also, I'm so excited because it came at a good time. So on my Goodreads, I set myself a goal of reading 50 books this year, and I hit that goal a couple of weeks ago. I did kind of cheat it a little bit because I did set that goal of 50 books publicly, but in my head, I have a goal of 100. I'm one of those types of people that, like, if I set a goal of 100 and I don't hit it, even just by like one book, I'm gonna be like really disappointed. So in my head, I haven't hit my goal, but I am halfway there and we are halfway through the year. I'm making good time and I'm so excited about it. Anyway, I'm really excited to kind of get into the tag and talk about all of the books that I've read so far this year. Question number one is best book you've read so far. I wrote down all the questions. I have all of my answers kind of prepared, but this is the only one that I didn't prepare an answer for because I don't know. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue was definitely a favorite of mine. I think I rated that one 6 stars. The story itself was really, really good, but I think the thing that like tipped it over the edge for me was Henry, the character Henry. I just relate to him so much. There were so many like quotes and things like that from Henry's perspective that I want to remember and annotate and things like that. I literally bought my own copy of it specifically to do so. The House in the Cerulean Sea was also another favorite this year. It was such a cute freaking little book. This guy that works in like the magical sphere of sorts kind of goes to this orphanage of magical children that are supposed to be like extra dangerous, and I think he spends 2 weeks or a month or something like that there, and he's supposed to be there to like gauge how dangerous they are and that kind of thing, but it's just such a sweet little like found family kind of vibe. The whole found family thing is definitely like a new favorite. The Touch of Darkness series was another really big favorite of mine this year. That's kind of what introduced me to like fantasy smut. And then the Never King series was another one that I ended up really, really loving. And we're gonna kind of jump forward in the questions a little bit to question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is the biggest surprise of the year, which is the Vicious Lost Boys series. So far, it's definitely the most kind of out there as far as like smut goes. Essentially, it's kind of like a relationship of sorts between Peter Pan, 3 of the Lost Boys, and Winnie, who is Wendy's great-great-granddaughter. But also within that, there was oddly this like heartwarming kind of like found family vibe, which I really loved. But also too, those things aside, like the story itself was really good, which again, I was kind of surprised about because the books are pretty thin. So I wasn't sure how developed the story was gonna be, but it was all around just such a good series to me. Jumping back up to number 2, actually we're gonna jump up to 4 because it kind of goes along with the biggest surprise, which is the biggest disappointment. And that is definitely gonna go to Mistakes Were Made. This is the only book so far this year that I've... The story itself sounds so interesting. It's basically about a college student that ends up hooking up with an older woman. Then you come to find out that that older woman is her friend's mom. So the story sounded so good, but honestly the writing is what kind of flopped for me. I talked about it in depth in a reading wrap up at some point. So if you're interested in hearing more details, I'll leave it down below. But any kind of video or book that I talk about, I'll leave linked down below. Now moving back up to number 2, we have the best sequel you've read. And for me, I kind of answered this more as like the best spin-off because I just thought the concept of this was really cool. So basically, the Touch of Darkness series is the story, like a retelling of Hades and Persephone, and that whole series is from Persephone's perspective. And what was really cool is the author actually made a complete entire different spin-off series of the same story, but from Hades' perspective, which has been so fun to read. New releases you haven't read yet but want to. I feel like everyone is reading Fourth Wing right now and I feel very left out. I don't really know anything about it. I just know that it has dragons in it, and but also Stolen Heir. That book came out in January, which is a spin-off series to The Cruel Prince, which is another series that I absolutely loved this year. There's a second book coming out after that one, but it's not going to come out until March of next year. So I'm gonna wait to read that until that second book comes out because I can't wait a whole year for another book. Which is actually gonna be a little bit of a theme with the next question that we have, which is most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. So like I said, a Touch of Darkness series and the Hades series are both coming out with more books. So A Touch of Chaos is the 4th book in the Touch of Darkness series, and that one is coming out in November, which also the 3rd book in the Touch of Darkness series left off on the biggest freaking cliffhanger. So I have been very impatiently waiting for that 4th book to come out. I am so excited. But A Game of Gods is the 3rd book in the Hades spin-off series, and that one actually comes out this month. So I'm going to be buying the entirety of that series this month. And then we also have A Curse for True Love, which is the 3rd book in Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I have not even read the 1st or 2nd book in that series yet, but everyone has been so obsessed with them lately. Everyone's been talking them up, and I'm so excited to read them. But again, I don't like to wait. And the 3rd book doesn't come out until October, so I'm gonna wait until that 3rd book comes out before I buy like the entire series and read it. Especially because a lot of people did say that that 2nd book also left off on a really big cliffhanger, so I'm already waiting for one book like that. I don't want to wait for a 2nd one. The Brothers Hawthorne is the 4th book in the Inheritance Game series. I read that one, I think at the end of last year or the very beginning of this one. But regardless, I really liked it, and that one's probably the one that I'm the least excited about out of all of these, but I'm definitely very interested in reading that one. That one comes out in August, so not too much of a wait for that one. And then we have Better on You by Lynn Painter, which comes out in November. I literally just uploaded a Reading Lynn Painter for 24 hours challenge video, and I just really love Lynn Painter's writing. I love a good fluffy romance, and Lynn Painter is definitely one of my favorite fluffy romance writers. Next up we have question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because we're jumping all over the place. Favorite new author. Scarlett St. Clair is like, I think, my favorite newfound author. She was the one that wrote the Hades and Persephone, but she also wrote A King of Battle and Blood, and this is basically like a spicy fantasy but with vampires. I just purchased the 2nd book in this series. I cannot wait to start reading it. And then also I think another standout author I think for me was Holly Black, who wrote the Cruel Prince series. Every single book in that series just made me so happy, and I love her writing so far. And then the next question is kind of fun. This one is newest fictional crush, and my answer is basically any and all of the fantasy romance male characters. Like Hades from the Hades and Persephone series got very like stoic, kind of intense energy about him, and I like that. But then also the whole all-powerful thing, top notch. The Half-Blood Prince from A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows, that was another series that I really freaking loved this year. He was basically like the dark and brooding brother of the person that the female lead was supposed to marry. Vane from the Never King series, he's one of the lost boys that Winnie is in relations with. He's also got that like dark broody, but he's only nice to her kind of thing. I eat that up. So basically any male lead that's like very narrowly walking the line between the villain and the hero, but kind of like leaning more toward villain status. Like I love it. Newest favorite character, and those are basically the female versions of what I just said. Jude from The Cruel Prince. The male character was there to help, to assist, but like she was of equal measure, and I just am obsessed with that type of female character. Harper from A Curse So Dark and Lonely was also very similar. They were almost interchangeable, but like in a good way. I know I'm gonna butcher the name, so I'm not even gonna attempt it, but here's the name. She's the female lead in The King of Battle and Blood, and I feel like for Harper and Jude, they kind of have like a position where people are supposed to respect them, but they kind of like feel awkward about it and don't want people to treat them like that. This person in The King of Battle and Blood, total opposite. She is a princess, and she will be treated like a princess. There were several scenes in the book where she like literally stabbed someone because they didn't like respect her position. I don't know, it's kind of like a surprising twist to the normal kind of female lead character, and I am honestly so obsessed with it. Next question is books that made you cry. I do not like a sad book. If I know a book is gonna make me cry going into it, I'm not touching it. But that being said, I did end up with 2 books this year so far that did make me cry to some capacity. The first one is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, oddly enough. And then the next one was Bad Fruit. This one just had a lot of like family traumas that were just really sad. With The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I just kind of like got a little teary-eyed. But Bad Fruit, one time specifically, I was like sobbing uncontrollably. Next question is books that made you happy, and literally all of the fantasy books, but also too just like all the fluffy romances make me happy. I literally just finished last night Yours Truly. I think I honestly even like that better than the Lynn Painter books that I just read. I ended up checking that book out from the library, but I am 1000% gonna be buying it. Specifically this cover, this is the UK cover. The US cover looks like this, and then the UK cover looks like this. They're basically the same cover, but with like different colors, and I definitely prefer the UK cover one. But anyway, next question is the most beautiful book. I haven't actually read this book yet, but by far, I think the most beautiful book that I own, that is on my shelves currently, is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Let me just go grab it so I can show you. Hold on. Here's what the cover looks like in the back. I'm gonna take this dust jacket off so you can actually see. So the actual book itself is just kind of like a very, very light kind of pinky purple type of color with the bell jar in like metallic blue. But then on the inside covers, you have like drawings or illustrations of like figs. There's also just like illustrations throughout the book. And I just think those are super, super cool. I just think this is such a pretty book and I'm very excited to read it at some point. It's not really high on my list if I'm honest, but it does say that it takes place in the summer, so maybe I should read it before the summer ends, but for now, it's just on my shelf being pretty. And then the very last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And hands down, there is no other answer for me. It has to be ACOTAR. Everyone on the planet has read this book series, I feel like, except for me. I literally just got the entire series. It's still wrapped in its plastic. It's right here. The sun is like reflecting off of it, so you can't really see it. I actually have it on my calendar scheduled this month to read the entire series. I want to do like a reading vlog because I cannot go any longer being the only one that has not read that series. All right, and with that, those are all of the questions for this tag. I would love to know your guys' favorite books and least favorite books and your most beautiful books, the books you're looking forward to the most. Tell me all the things. Yeah, I think that's everything for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you have / have had the most amazing of days, and I'll hopefully see you guys in my next one. Bye.